Happy 4th of July, my fellow Americans. I hope you all have a wonderful holiday. I've played 12 hours of poker spanning over 3 days so far, and I'm playing today as well. That special episode will be coming sometime later this week. First, though, I got to get through this very eventful session that happened the week prior, filled with action and big pots. I also got recognized for the first time. A guy at my table asked if I had a vlog and said that is where he recognized me from. It's finally nice to know I'm getting the recognition I deserve, and I'm becoming world famous.
I don't know how to put this, but I'm kind of a big deal. People know me.
That's enough about me. Let's get into some of the many hands I'm going to go over. In this first one, I'm in middle position and see an open raise to 20, directly to my right with the button straddle on. This older lady is a straight up gambler. I have only been at the table a few orbits, but she has already been in every single pot. One hand she raised with King 7 suited and called a donk all in from a short stack with her King 7 high. Pocket 10s is way ahead of her opening range. I 3-bet to 60. The action gets back to her, and she ships it all in. Not a big fist pump get it all in normally, but very happy against this player. She shows pocket 3s. Very willing to gamble, to say the least, and it happened to work out for her specifically this time, flopping a set and doubling up through me. Time to add on another 300. Only 2 hands later, I pick up Ace-King offsuit from early position. The one hand in between this hand and that last hand, the same lady called down with Ace-9 high and won. No idea who in their right mind would try and bluff her. A much braver man than I. She opens from under the gun to 15. I raise it up to 60. Action folds back to her, and I'm ready for an all-in pre-flop again. But she ends up just calling. The flop, King, King, Queen. So it bails me out on deciding what to do if I miss. She then leads into me for 65. No idea what to pin her range on, but she has shown interest in the pot. I don't see her folding. I go all in, not wanting a scare card to come, if there is such a thing for her. She doesn't take too much time and calls. Showing Queen 6 of spades. I really like my chances getting my money back. Fantastic table spot for me, being directly to the left of one of the biggest gamblers I have ever played with. My good hands just gotta hold up. Speaking of good hands needing to hold up, I pick up Ace-Queen, see 3 limps ahead of me, including the crazy G. I make it 20, both blinds call, then also the last 2 limpers. $100 already in the pot, ace-high flop, 2 spades. I then see a strange play from the gambler, betting just 15 into me. I was pretty confident I would get her stack in the middle no matter what. At the table, I thought a raise would just look exactly like the hand I had and get weaker aces to fold. So I just call the tiny bet, wanting to goat somebody into raising with their top pair, thinking that they're good with an already large pot in the middle. If I had to do it over, I would have just at least min-raised here, making it look like I might not have an ace and just want to isolate the crazy player with something like a pocket pair. As played, all players call, and I gave him a great price to do it. Turn is a good card though, in an offsuit 8. Then the action follows very similarly to the flop action. I gave trapping a shot. Now it's time to raise with 2 flush draws out there. All players fold, besides the gambler. The river is a deuce of hearts. She shows King 7 offsuit. Another decent pot against this player, being way ahead. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Sadly, that is what my record will have to end at. The gambler left and went to play blackjack, I think. I do keep picking up big hands though. Ace-King. I raise it up again. this time to 30 in middle position with the button straddle on. I get the cutoff, button straddler, and limper to call, and we're going to a 4-way flop, which misses me, a disconnected jack-high rainbow board. Since there's less than a pot-sized bet left, with the largest stack remaining, and even less with the other 2 players, this is a must-bet situation in my opinion, where I can get smaller pocket pairs to fold, or deny equity from random hands like Queen 10. Even if one of the 2 smaller stacks has top pair with a jack, if my 2 overs are good, I'd be getting almost the odds to call anyway, getting just about 3-1, being just about a 3-1 underdog. So I bet with the idea that if I get any folds here, it is a profitable play. It looks like my bet might just get through, but the limper goes all in for just 20 more. I almost know he has a jack. Then he does show the jack 9 of diamonds. I need an ace or king. Doesn't come on the turn, but I spike it on the river. I take this one down. Big hands just keep finding me, this time the biggest hand. I make it 15 to go with only 1 limper. Then I get the cutoff to call, the big blind, as well as the limper. Flop is fine, most with pocket aces are. Then the big blind leads out for a little under half pot of 25, and the action's on me. Time to raise and start building this pot. He could have so many hands I can get value from. I make it 100 with a draw heavy board. He quickly calls when the action's back on him. I'm fully confident that I'm ahead at this point. This is usually a reverse type of tell. Turn is not the greatest with a jack. He could have spiked 2 pair or gained more outs with a hand like king queen. He then leads out for the same bet of 100, leaving himself with $103 remaining. This to me looks like king jack is his most likely hand. He probably should have folded that on the flop to my raise, but I don't expect players at this limit to get away from top pair. I can't fold even if he showed me that hand. I would have 12 outs and would be getting 3.5 to 1. It's either call or just put them all in. I do think he can easily play king queen this way, which is the most crucial since it has the most combos and I'm also ahead. He could also do it with the ace high flush draw or a combo draw of some type like queen jack or jack 9 of diamonds. Those hands might check fold the river if they miss, but we'll call the rest of his remaining stack left here right now on the turn. So I decide to put them all in. He calls, and after a blank river, he lets me know he has top 2 pair. That's king jack. Unfortunate turn, but I still believe the line each street was played well. No matter how many times you get aces busted, you always love seeing them again. I get the red version this time, open raise to 10 from the button, get a call from the small blind, then a min raise from a short stack big blind. I make it 100, thinking a bigger bet looks more like a bluff. The big blind then calls, just leaving $46 behind. He puts the rest in on a low flop. The aces work out for me, this time. After seeing that string of absolute premium starting hands, ace jack off looks like total garbage, but it's good enough for an open with the under the gun straddle on. 3 players call my raise, including the small blind, whom is actually all in, and the button, who I've been talking to throughout the session and seems pretty tight. The flop is decent. I have top pair, decent kicker, and a gut shot. I decide to check for pot control and under-rep my hand a little bit. Ace jack here is certainly not a huge holding on this board. The tight button bets 50 into what is a tiny side pot, which makes me believe he has at worst top pair with diamonds, since he can't bluff and win the pot outright. I think my hand is too strong getting 3-1 to fold, however. I call and see a blank turn, check it over to the tight villain, instantly goes all in, and I subsequently make the quick laydown. I don't think he would go all in on the turn with the hand I'm ahead of, especially so quickly, and he didn't, showing pocket kings. Nice slow play there with the Cowboys. Good hand. A new player sits in seat 1. I call her Ariel. The redhead limps, I decide to limp behind with 9-8 suited. The players behind me are not aggressive and haven't been raising much, so they won't punish me for limping very often. I rather play a deeper multi-way SPR pot with this hand. I get exactly what I want, going to a 5-way flop. Yeah, that's a decent flop, I would say. Not even a flush draw on board. Ariel starts the betting with a good sized bet of 25. I decide on flat calling here with the nuts. It allows the 3 players behind me to stay in with hands that I'm absolutely crushing, like any jack or a hand like 10-9. Plus, it allows them to have the opportunity to raise, thinking they are ahead possibly with top pair. I'm specifically talking about the short stack, since he won't be risking too many chips, and if he hit the flop in any decent fashion, I think he could raise. Doesn't happen though, only one caller on the button. Then a queen of spades comes on the turn, which makes me not have the nuts anymore, but I actually think that was a good card for me. Many more hands have 2 pair now, like queen jack and queen 10, that will be willing to put many more chips in the middle. If they just had a single pair, they might be able to fold. I'm only losing to ace king, that I'm ruling out completely since that should raise preflop, or king 9, which I think is pretty unlikely. Ariel continues with a smaller bet relative to the pot this time. I make it 100 more. She calls after the button folds, pretty quickly. This player just sat down and I have no information, but I'm putting her range heavily weighted on 2 pair. The only hands I thought she could have that aren't are like king jack of spades or king queen that limped preflop, so I didn't put much emphasis on those at the time. A river I don't want to see comes, pairing the board. I am awaiting a shove from Ariel, thinking she might have made a full house, but she checks, and I almost immediately check back, thinking, who would call here without a straight or a full house? I really need to get out of this habit of overestimating how good of hands villains at this limit will call with. She possibly could be trapping with a full house, but with only about a quarter size pot left, she should be always shoving with any full house. It would have been a big mistake for me if I lost some value against king queen specifically, or really any crank call. She shows jack 8 offsuit, second pair, and a dummy end to a gut shot. It looks like Ariel has been swimming with the fishies a little too much.
Such wonderful things around you. What more are you looking for? Under the sea, under the sea. Darling, it's better down where it's wetter. Take it from me.
A more modest hand this time. I open queen 10 of spades from the hijack and get 2 players with position on me to call. I flop a gut shot with a backdoor flush draw. This seems like a perfect candidate as a continuation bet bluff. I have a hand with decent equity that could call a bet, but betting myself allows me to maybe barrel somebody off a weak ace if I hit a spade on the turn, or continue betting if I just hit my straight. I should also get a good amount of folds representing an ace and blocking some other kickers that aces would call with. It turned out to be a boring hand, especially considering all my others. Both villains fold. Another premium starting hand 1 orbit later. I open pocket kings from the cutoff to 25 with under the gun straddle on. The same slow player to my left calls. Then I get a squeeze from the big blind to 75. I saw him previously limp call ace-jack preflop, so I have him pegged as a passive player. This makes this play just scream strength. Many times it will be a cooler against aces from such a passive player, but kings is exactly even money against almost the tightest range conceivable in queens plus, so I make the easy decision to put villain all in. He calls, not sure if I'm ahead or not, but I don't have to worry too long as a king pops up right in the window. I know I'm taking this pot down after the river, as I see villain shaking his head, showing American Airlines. Lucky, lucky. The session was 6 hours, but I picked up an absurd 8 premium hands. Aces twice, kings twice, everyone just folded on my second kings. Jacks once, tens once, and ace king twice. up to over 1,400, so up 800 overall. With the straddle on once again, I make a small ISO raise against a limp from Ariel, since she is so short stacked. The big blind calls, and Ariel gives us some good news and goes all in, reopening the action for me to put in a raise, getting the blind out of the pot. I'm ready for a middling sized pot heads up, but the big blind shockingly goes all in. I of course call for less than 100 more. It would be an absolute boss trap if he had a higher pair than me, banking on Ariel shipping with her short stack, because it just looks like such a great shove spot for me with any holding. My bet is, though, that he has a lowering premium hand, like pocket 9s, 10s, ace king, or ace queen, so I still think I'm ahead. The board ends up running out very poorly. I end up losing in both spots, with the pot going to ace king in the big blind. Good situation for me pre-flop, being almost 50% in a three-way all-in. Just didn't work out for me this time. Ariel now switches seats to my direct left. She could have not liked the one seat, thought I was the fish and wanted position on me, or just liked me and wanted to sit next to me.
Not even in your dreams, Mr. Squarepants. No!
Anyway, I have a very mediocre holding in Jack 10 offsuit, but on the button with not many players raising from the blinds, I feel it's worth a call. After the under the gun straddler that beat me in the previous hand checks, the flop misses us entirely, and the action checks through. You probably guessed I was going to improve with including this hand. I hit a 10 on the turn and see a small bet from ace king and a call from the new player in seat 1. I don't think the tiny bet is anything strong, just a bet trying to set his own price. Plus, the caller shouldn't be particularly strong either. With those things in mind, I like a raise here, getting some extra value from draws now rather than just calling. A call would allow them to draw for nothing extra, then a lot of times they will just check fold on a blank river. I make it 50, then a call from the new player. Nice river card in the 9 of spades. I check with about a pot-sized bet left. I don't feel many weaker hands call, mostly holdings of missed flush draws that will fold. He shows king 6 of hearts, so maybe that was a hand he would have called a small bet with. Still a well-played hand, I think. Last hand of the episode here, I open with 10-7 of hearts from the cutoff. A loose open, but both blinds are deep with me, and the power position goes up drastically the deeper stacked you play. I get a call from Ariel on the button, and both blinds call. Flop is decent with middle pair. I continuation bet 40. It could go either way though whenever you flop middle pair. You get value from draws, but you can get called by many better hands. I have the backdoor flush draw, adding positively to the betting option, but I have no kicker that is behind all 10s, adding positively to the checking option. I would say that a check is probably best here, but I bet and got a call from the button. Both blinds fold. Very weird spot for me on the turn with a black 4 of clubs. I still would of course check with deeper stacks, but she only has about $100 left. I felt I would get the odds to call on a shove from Ariel, given I'm putting her range on many different draws of King Jack, Jack 9, and all flush draws. This makes my decision between either going all in and gaining profit when she has a draw and would check back the turn and river, or check folding, thinking she would either raise the flop with draws or check back the turn trying to hit her hand first, minimizing losses to stronger made hands that will mostly play it this way, somewhat trapping. I felt the first option was best, since I didn't plan on folding for the good price. I go all in, while she beats me into the pot. 5 of diamonds comes on the river. She shows pocket 3s for a flop set. After all those premium starting hands and big pots, I leave with a somewhat disappointing $320 profit after getting crushed in that last hand. That's kind of exactly what I deserve, though, after making fun of a player.
I did deserve that.